Hello, Molly.
Hello, Monica.
I want to thank you for being with us today. Mollie Rorrer Gore, class of '84. And yes, it does rhyme, and we've given her a hard time about that over the years. Mollie is the communications director for Santee Cooper in South Carolina. And this is a neat opportunity for us to talk to you about what you do as we try to give seniors some notion of, what's out there in the world for them. So how long have you been at Santee Cooper?
I actually have been at Santee Cooper 13 years last month. So
Wow, that's longer than I remembered. So did you start as their communications director?
at Santee Cooper,
Yeah.
yeah, I joined Santee Cooper, the PR director, and then after I guess I've been in my current role for 6 or 7 years. So um, it's time flies.
Well, now, Santee Cooper, for those of us who don't know, is that the largest utility in South Carolina?
I'm not sure exactly where we fall. We're certainly one of the largest. We're one of the largest public power utilities in the country. And what that means is that we're actually an agency of the state. Public power utilities are utilities like TVA, um, uh, municipal utilities. A lot of cities will have their own electric or water utilities, and we happen to be a state-owned electric and water utility serving most of South Carolina.
So that's a ton of people, right? How many people you're talking about?
We have we're different than a lot of utilities in that we have a large wholesale business. So we provide electricity. All of our water is wholesale, and then electricity is mostly wholesale to electric cooperatives and then some municipal utilities around the state. And then we have our direct serve customer base, the residential and commercial customers we serve directly are in the Myrtle Beach area, Grand Strand,
Oh, wow.
also along the coast in Georgetown County, which is between Myrtle Beach and Charleston, and then in Berkeley County, which is where we're headquartered, and that's also right outside of Charleston.
Oh, okay, cool. So that's a huge client base then, a lot of people that you work with. What's the main thing that you do? I mean, what's your overall goal that what you do? And then in general, what's your kind of day-to-day like?
Overall goal is to have people understand what I'm trying to communicate, but some days that goes better than others. Um, so we actually have a communications department, corporate communications department. We do internal communications, which is keeping employees informed. We do an employee newsletter. We of course have email and video with employees and other platforms, if you will. And then the other part is external, and that is our customers. It is general public because again we are owned by the state. And then we do a lot of economic development work. So we do communications with in the economic development space, and then other areas depending on the day and the need.
So from day to day, it's going to be a lot of different things. You may have to be putting out fires, or you might just be doing some long-term goals, or just it's going to vary a lot from day to day.
Yeah, well, in the electricity business, we try not to have fires, but some.
Oh, good point.
No, it does vary a lot day to day. And and also the kind of communication. I mean, if we're communicating, we have a pretty well developed energy efficiency program for customers, and so that's about making sure they know what kind of programs we have, how they can take advantage of, for instance, loans for solar panel installation.
Oh, cool.
Making sure that they know we have them and how they can use them and how they can benefit from them. Again, I mentioned the economic development communication. That's really is trying to promote South Carolina as a place for industry to set up shop and also to stay.
That's interesting. I don't think I'd heard you talk about that as part of what you all do. That's really cool.
It's actually part of Santee Cooper. It's kind of we have a pretty cool history. We were set up in the 30s by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. We were a New Deal agency.
Huh.
Our original mission was to promote economic development. So that's a big part of what we do.
Well, that's a conversation for another day, and we're going to have that soon because that's really cool. You were a mass communications major at Emory and Henry back in the day, and then you also got some really great internship experience, some great work experience. How important would you say your internship was to what you're doing now and to what your career trajectory has been?
Well, first, slight correction. I was an English major with
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Don't tell anybody I said that.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. I did have a whole lot of mass communications courses, probably almost all of them, that they offered back in the 1980s. The internship, when I was at Emory and Henry, I worked on the White Topper with my good friend and roommate, Laura Craven Duncan. Always knew I wanted to go into newspapering, and I did. So my internship right out of Emory and Henry was at the Roanoke Times. And it really, I don't know how you get a job in communications if you don't have an internship. So, and what that did that's relative to what I'm doing now is it obviously taught me to meet deadlines. It taught me to write under pressure, taught me how to go out there. It gave me additional experience going out and asking questions and putting together a narrative, working with people, working on a team. All of that, was a big part of the internship.
And then, what, say that again?
I said I recommend internships.
Yeah, exactly. And so from there, you went on to do some bigger work in newspapers, right? You were at the Richmond Times?
I went to a small daily outside of Northern Virginia for a couple of years, the Potomac News, which sadly I think has folded. And then I was in Richmond for about 12 years at the Richmond Times Dispatch.
So all of those things, though, have kind of culminated together into helping you. Probably I'm guessing every step of the way, those have been helpful things for you as you've grown.
They have. And what we do in my group at Santee Cooper is, again, I mentioned the people we communicate to, but the things we do. We have our own photographer and videographer service, and we have somebody who does that in our area. We have graphic designers, just to give people an idea of what kind of jobs you might find at a corporate communications operation. So we have graphic designers, we have an art director. We do a quarterly magazine. It is still print. I mentioned an employee newsletter that is every week, and that's digital. So we have a lot of digital communications we're doing. Website based. We of course have social media, so we have social media content development, videos. We do video scripts, press releases, of course, and then sort of fact sheet kinds of communications. The designers do the pretty pictures that go on our website, the ones that are not photographs.
Yeah.
And a lot of graphics that we'll use on social media. So it really is a good cross-section of communications work. The only thing we don't have is, we do have a YouTube channel. I was going to say we don't have a TV station per se, but we do. We have a YouTube channel, and we'll, again, produce videos that we place on that YouTube channel.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and these days you sort of have to be able to do those kinds of things, right? I mean, that's just the reality of how we all communicate right now. We're a visual society.
We are, in video and graphics, infographics. Those have become so much more important now than they were even 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, and I know you've got a good internship program there at Santee Cooper. Tell me, what are the kinds of things you look for when lining up an intern? I mean, what are the qualifications? What are the things that make a young person stand out?
At the intern level, really, we would pay attention to kind of the coursework and grades. If they've had other internships, obviously that would be a leg up, depending on what they are. And really, we do interviews. We do in-person interviews for the internships, and you want somebody who's curious, who's engaging, who has it's kind of cliche, but who has good communication skills. Somebody who can has good grammar, a good vocabulary. but again, it's engaging, enthusiastic, and curious.
Well, and now that I've screwed up your major and said you're a mass comm, and clearly you're an English major because we were English majors together. So my next question was going to be, is grammar and, are those kinds of things still important in today's world?
Not even spell check is foolproof. So you may have a word spelled correctly, but it may not be the word you intended. So
Exactly.
Yes, you have to be able to string together a good subject verb with maybe an adjective every now and then,
Yes.
especially engage audiences. If you want them to read you or listen to you, you have to be able to get their attention.
And thanks for that plug for grammar. So, so this is an interesting world that we're living in right now. But you're still, of course, plenty busy. I mean, one of the points that we're trying to make through all this is that there are still plenty of corporations out there and organizations out there who are busy and still doing the work of this country. And so, do you have any words of wisdom that you would give to young people now who are looking to enter the workforce these days?
Well, again, I think with almost any field, I think it's important to have some real experience, and that could be by taking advantage of opportunities on campus. For instance, the White Topper, or you all have a TV station now, I think, right?
And a radio station.
And a radio station. So get some time in there. You can volunteer if, especially my daughter graduated a few years ago from college, and at some time, at some points along the way, she was building internships, and she did some of them as volunteers because it was a way to, build her resume and get some real world experience. And with an organization that couldn't afford or didn't have the budget, didn't budget for paid interns, a lot of nonprofits. So volunteering is always an option if a traditional intern is readily available. And if a traditional job is not readily available right now, just because of the weird time we're in.
I love that you said that about volunteering, because I mean, I know that a paid internship is great, but right now, like you say, anything that we can do to pad our resumes a little bit is helpful. And there are probably a lot of organizations that are trying to figure out how to exist in this unusual situation. And so, we've got students who have a lot of mad skills, and they could really be helpful to a lot of folks that are in need of somebody with young and clever and people who know how to use YouTube videos and such.
And it's a good way to align yourself with the kind of organization that you have an interest in. I mean, if you're volunteering, you have more of, I would say you can handpick your organization, but you have a better chance than you do trying out of the door to get a paid job. So.
Right. All right. This is helpful, and we may circle back to you here before too long and talk to you more about that internship program and let our folks be aware of some opportunities in your organization. That would be great.
I will tell you that we have summer interns. They usually start in May and through early August, and the job listings for the internships are usually posted right around the end of November or early December. We start the hiring. We do it pretty early. Start the interviewing in probably January, February. So
okay.
And I'll try to remember to let you know when the postings go up next year.
And we'll try to remember to start looking for them. Okay. Well, Mollie, thanks an awful lot for doing this, and I appreciate the work that you're doing. I appreciate what a good example you are for young people coming along as someone who has put in her time and is really in a great position now to do good work. And so thanks for taking a minute to share back with our students. We appreciate that.
Well, I got a great foundation, great grounding at Emory and Henry. So
awesome. All right. Well, I will be seeing you soon, and I'll just say thank you again, and thanks for all you're doing for Emory and Henry.
Go Wasps!
All right.
The stingers up. Show me stingers up.
It's this. You have to put your and your little pinky up. There you go. It looks
fingers up.
Drinking a beer. It just or making a phone call. It's a lot like call me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again, and Talk to you later.
Good talking to you.
Okay.
Bye.